Next on The Broadway Show.
Hey everybody, what's up? Miguel Cervantes here, Alexander Hamilton in the Broadway production of Hamilton. And join us on The Broadway Show where I'll be talking to Tamsen and perhaps telling a dad joke or two. No promises.
Plus, welcome back to the Moulin Rouge.
Aaron Tveit
returns to his Tony Award-winning role. Ben Jackson Walker's on the show to talk about making his Broadway debut in the smash hit and Juliet. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is The Broadway Show.
Broadway's biggest shows, Broadway's hottest tickets, they're all right here, along with Broadway's hottest stars. I'm Tamsen Fadal. This is The Broadway Show. Let's get going.
He's not throwing away his shot at telling dad jokes anyway. I had a chance to catch up with Broadway's Alexander Hamilton this time, Miguel Cervantes, to talk about his corny sense of humor, his family, and a whole lot more.
Well, let's start with your jokes anyway, because
yes.
So you got a book of jokes.
My wife gave me a book of jokes last Christmas, like
Yeah.
two years ago, and I started bringing them in and telling some people jokes, and then it kind of became a thing where I found different places during the show to tell, some wardrobe folks, the cast, and then it became sort of like a part of the track. Part of the Hamilton track is like, first you do my shot, then you tell a joke, then you do.
I don't think you should tell Lynn that. I'm suggesting.
Well, maybe we're going to write it into the track. And then one of our wardrobe gals, Lisa, came down with a medical situation, and so she had to sort of step away for a little while, and she told the folks down in the wardrobe, she said, one of the biggest things that I miss is being able to hear Miguel come and tell these dumb jokes. So we started videoing them for her to send them to her, just that was it. And then it became this sort of thing we put on Instagram, and everyone sort of is enjoying it.
Why do scientists believe that you couldn't tell when a pterodactyl was going to the bathroom? Well, because the P is silent.
It's kind of part of one of my things, like everyone has a little thing, and so I get to.
I like your thing.
Yeah,
I like your thing.
And listen, if we can add a little bit of laughter, in something that, after years and years and years, it becomes kind of what you do. It's just step here, move there, put this shirt on, and now I get something a little different. I don't get to mess around on stage, so maybe
you have your own little performance
exactly,
going on backstage.
Exactly. What do you call a fish with a bow tie?
I don't know.
Sophisticated.
Sophisticated. I would have never thunk. You know what I mean? It's great.
Is there one scene, moment, conversation, song that you look forward to every night?
It's a great question because there's so many moments in the show that can change based on who's performing. If there's a different actor or actress up on stage in one of the roles, the energy's a little different. So I always enjoy the cabinet battles because there's just a little bit of an energy that we're allowed to sort of bring in the audience because they are now part of the meeting. So I enjoy that a lot because I can sort of look at people, and when people smile and I catch their eye, and it really sort of, those are the small things that change from night to night. I really love Dear Theodosia. I'm a parent, I'm a father. It's a moment where I'm very close to the audience, and sometimes I can catch, I don't think they think I can see them, but they'll like reach over and cuddle their child while I'm singing. And I can see them do that, and I make a joke because I can feel that. When it's just, I call acting, it's like a superpower, right? So I'm up there, I'm just singing this song, Alexander Hamilton, but I make this parent like reach over these teenagers, and they'll grab them and reach them over, and I'm like, stop, you gotta stop, and so.
I can see you.
Yeah, and I can see you cuddling, and I don't like it because it makes me want to cuddle my son and my children. And those are the moments that I really sort of cherish.
Because every night it's different.
Every night
Every night's different. Every night is a different cuddle, a different person, a different emotion.
Exactly.
How is the family doing?
Great. My family has gone through a lot over, at the end of Chicago, we were dealing with so many things in our own personal life and our loss, and when we lost Adelaide, that affected so many parts of who we are, my wife Kelly and I, what our family meant, and in that same exact time, I've been asked to come start here in New York, and so then there's the transition out of Chicago and what our family looks like, and then, oh, by the way, let's shut down for a couple years in the middle of that. We realized that, grief is a universal feeling. We all experience our grief in individual ways, but we can sort of be together in the fact that everyone feels something and feels it in their own way. And as the years have gone by, my wife started writing. She's written a book about sort of Adelaide and grief, and I've been so amazed by her and able to sort of use this tragedy in our lives to try to help someone. It's been a trying and in some ways very beautiful time in our lives. And then we, somewhere in there, decided that we were going to adopt a little girl.
Yes.
And so that sort of became another crazy change in our life. People say all the time, like, "Oh, you were helping this child. You were saving this little girl's life." I'm like, no. This is for everyone. This is for all of us. I sort of cautiously say that we are doing okay.
Want to see more of my interview? Head over to Broadway.com for an extended cut. Welcome back to the Moulin Rouge. Tony Award winner Aaron Tveit is reprising his role as Christian in Moulin Rouge the musical. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
It's a rainy day on Broadway, but we're here with a very sunny Broadway star, Mr. Aaron Tveit.
Hello, hello.
How you doing, sir?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, back on the boards.
Back on the board.
I love it. I love it when you're back on the boards.
Me too, thanks.
So what I would love to do with you today is walk through your resume a little bit.
Sounds great.
This is the Neil Simon Theater.
Yes, it is.
This is where it all started.
This is where it all began for me in New York, yeah. Yeah, what a wonderful place to be, to make my
So
Broadway
we're
debut.
talking about Hairspray. You were Link Larkin.
Yes.
And you did it on the road first.
I did it on the road for a year.
Yep.
And then they asked me to come to New York, and I got to come here. And actually, very, very funny story about my opening night. Because, I grew up just about an hour or so upstate.
Yeah.
So my high school chorus teacher organized a bus of people to come to my opening night. Like 70 or 75 people from my hometown came to my opening night. And so I got all this entrance applause, and everyone in the cast on stage with me, they had no idea. They were like, "Who is this guy getting all this entrance applause?" So I had I stacked the deck for myself in the crowd that night. I mean, it's still one of my favorite musicals, and it just everything about it, the music, the story it tells, how fun it is. That last, I still, You Can't Stop the Beat, that finale number, no matter what happens in the show, that sends the audience out, on such a high.
The Neil Simon also,
Yes.
You were the star. Well, you and Norbert Leo Butz
Yeah.
starred in Catch Me If You Can.
That's right, yeah.
That was a big role.
Big role.
And it was very much a big moment for you.
I still think the show didn't necessarily run as long as obviously we all hoped
Right.
it would. And I think that show is going to get a big revival one day, and people are going to realize kind of how brilliant it is. It's the same creative team as Hairspray.
Yeah.
So again, when we all got to return to this building, it felt like home for a lot of us. It was a wonderful, wonderful time, and I still just so grateful that I got to do that. It was very, very hard, but wonderful.
Okay, so here we are.
Yeah.
You were in Wicked.
I was in
You're
Wicked.
part of the Brotherhood of the White Pants.
Right. Yeah. 2008, I was in Wicked, which seems like no time ago and forever ago. I had so much fun. I saw Wicked in previews while I was down here on a college New York City trip.
Okay.
And
Did you know it was going to be a hit?
Yeah, I knew it. I thought it was gonna be. I mean, she flies.
Does she?
She flies at the end of the first act. I just think Wicked is this prime example of how to do a long-running show for a long time. The people that they bring in still are amazing, and they find all this new talent, and it has moments that just hit you across the face in the best way. And I love doing it. It was one of the most fun I've ever had in a show.
Aaron, the Booth Theater, you got to do one of my favorite shows, Next to Normal, in this theater.
Yes, I did.
First of all, it had this amazing music, and then emotionally, it was so big, and then you were doing it all in this very intimate space.
Tiny. The set was like a 3-level house.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of the time.
You were up there a lot.
On the second and third levels. But right where I was in the third level, I was just exactly with the upper balcony. You really felt like you could reach out and touch the balcony on stage in that theater. I think it's my favorite theater on Broadway.
How do you feel about spoilers? Your character, Gabe, there's a big spoiler.
Big spoiler.
I'm very precious about spoilers. I still don't want to tell people spoilers. Are you the same way about?
I try to keep spoilers unspoiled, if that makes sense. Yeah. I didn't prep anyone for anything when they came in to see it. So I wanted everybody to have their own reaction. And we heard a lot of reactions.
Oh my God, it got big reactions.
It did,
It was so crazy.
Yeah.
Now this is a beautiful spot.
Here we are. Yeah.
Is it weird to have that there? Are you very used to now having an enormous, I mean, you've done this before, Next to Normal, there's
I
an
have,
enormous
yeah.
photo.
I mean, you don't really ever get used to it. I imagine in the shot right now, I'm just creeping over my shoulder, which is very funny, but no, it's amazing. It's amazing.
But it is nice when you sort of reach that point, right? And have those.
Yes, it's amazing. And listen, as you know, commercial theater's hard, and so a lot of shows you work on don't achieve this kind of success. And so to have something that you're so tied to and that you created and that you have has such a close place in your heart, to be able to go back in, I mean, that's a dream come true.
So what's it like to think about your career you've built? I mean, it's hard to sort of have those moments where you sort of take check of yourself.
Yeah, because it's not something I do often. I don't think people don't naturally do that. So this kind of walk through my my Broadway history, it's very special. And I remember when I started studying theater and kind of falling in love with theater, all I wanted was a career in it, and just be able to be in shows and play on stage. And here I am, approaching 20 years from when I left school to do Rent. And I somehow have kept it all going, and I'm so grateful for it.
There's still a lot more to talk about on this edition of The Broadway Show.
I'm Perry Sook, coming up in just a few.
It's the Chicago Dance Mob. I'm talking to one of the members of the iconic street team about her own big Broadway dreams.
This is The Broadway Show, and we're back in just a few.
Hi, I'm Danny Burstein, and you're watching The Broadway Show.
And I ain't gonna be just a face in the crowd. You're gonna hear my voice.
Welcome back to The Broadway Show. I'm Tamsen Fadal. Let's get back to it.
It's my life. It's now or never.
For Juliet, there is life after Romeo, but for Ben Jackson Walker, his Broadway career begins right here in the pop musical smash and Juliet, and he's this week's fresh face.
Hey, I'm Ben Jackson Walker. I'm playing Romeo, and this is Juliet. It's crazy to say this is my Broadway debut, and it's an original musical, but when I say, hey, I'm playing Romeo, everyone's like, oh wait, you're playing Romeo? And I'm like, it's not exactly what you think, but it's a really, really fun take on it. My first show I ever did was a musical version of The Hobbit, and I played Frodo Baggins, and they made me these giant feet that were stuffed with stuffing from a pillow, and they had me in an Annie wig. Weirdly enough, I really caught the bug then, because it was absolutely exhilarating and absolutely terrifying to me, and I've kept chasing that ever since. I never had a backup plan, but when I got to the city, I've done a bunch of different things, and I kind of ended on nannying, and during the pandemic I was gardening, and I went to Hawaii for 3 months and homeschooled 2 little girls. But I think coming back from the pandemic and when things kind of started to happen and I kind of settled into my life in New York, I was like, it was always this. We've had 15 Broadway debuts throughout this show, so there was so much energy. So much excitement, especially opening night. I had a really hard time taking it all in at first because I think there were so many emotions that I was completely overwhelmed by it. But then when we came out for our bows and I looked around at all my castmates and we just kind of looked at each other knowing this was happening, that I will never ever forget that moment. I did have to approach Juliet a bit differently than other things, I think. My way into that is that Max Martin is this absolutely incredible pop writer, but he doesn't write for just one person. He's writing for these people like they're characters almost. And so I tried to think about it, all these lyrics that technically had nothing to do with Romeo and Juliet, but they're woven in so cleverly by David West Reed. I won't give away too much, but Romeo does make an appearance. He is a part of the show. And when he does come back, he's coming back from the dead and he's singing It's My Life by Bon Jovi. It's my life, it's now or never, and I ain't gonna live forever. I mean, it fits the situation so well. And so you're a pop star and you're a character at the same time. I dreamed of these kinds of things. I would lay in bed listening to music and I would think these things through. But you can't actually know what it's gonna be like or what it's gonna feel like until you're there in that moment and you're doing it. I just have to take it one day at a time because it's overwhelming and it's amazing.
February is Black History Month, and all month long we've been shining the spotlight on Black performers and organizations that make the theater community a better place. This week, we're talking to one of the stars of Funny Girl, Jared Grimes.
Let's go ahead and check back in with Paul Wontorek.
Still up here.
Still rocking with Leah Michelle.
In the bigger hit than ever, Funny Girl. What does that do to your psyche to have a hit? I mean, you have like a little security, right? Is that like a nice feeling? How does that change you?
Yeah, it's like joy on repeat. There's just constant joy and entertainment coming from this theater, and yeah, super grateful.
We are closing out Black History Month. You're actually the first Black actor to play Eddie Ryan.
Oh man, that's great.
And then you got a Tony nomination, and look at it, it's a big hit. And you know it means a lot to people in the audience, you know, witnessing that and knowing sort of how special that is.
Oh man, it's even when you say it, it just kind of gives me the chills, because I never really thought about it like that. Like I was like, yeah, there's been African American Eddies before, like, but you know, just to know that, you know, I'm the first person to kind of do it in the way that I've done it, it's just like, oh man, it's mind-boggling. When I've signed up for this project, I just, you know, really wanted to step into the role of Eddie Ryan and add something that, you know, maybe we haven't seen before in terms of, you know, being an African American performer, such as my heroes like Sammy Davis Jr. and Gregory Hines and John Bubbles, the Nicholas Brothers, Bilbo Bojangles Robinson. So I really was geeked to step into the role of Eddie to add that kind of component to it. And, you know, all the other stuff that kind of came along with it was just kind of the cherry on top. I was just like, hey, I'm good. You know, Black History life is, you know, moving forward and helping people understand the stories of African American performers then, now, so that way we can create loads of them for the future.
You have romanced a lot of Fanny Bryces. You've had quite an assortment of talented powerhouses.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the show is led by phenomenal females.
Yeah.
You know, I'm from the South, I'm kind of like a mama's boy, so, you know, I really know how to take second in command to a strong female, a talented female. My mom was my very first dance teacher. You know, I don't blink twice to take the opportunity to fall in line and really let a female lead who's great at everything lead the way. That's what I was doing with my mom for so long in my life. Still to this day, my mom is still teaching African dance classes and Zumba classes, and I'm in the back just getting it down. Come on, mom, let's get it. So, you know, we're always having fun. It's the same thing I've done here with Beanie and with Julie and now with Leah, you know, just falling in line and just having a great time supporting whatever Fanny's on stage. So it's super cool to be a part of a show to see, you know, phenomenal women just rise to the occasion constantly.
Thanks for staying with us for this latest edition of the Broadway Show. Glad you're here.
If you walk through Times Square, you've probably seen or even chatted with members of the Chicago the Musical Dance Mob. The iconic street team made up of some amazing singers and dancers, many of whom have big Broadway dreams of their own.
Let's send it out to Perry Sook.
All right, so I'm here in the middle of Times Square with a longtime member of the Chicago Dance Mob, Chelsea Logan. Chelsea, how long have you been a Chicago girl?
I've been about 10 years. I'll be celebrating 10 years in June.
What goes into it? You know, are you Fosse trained? What is there rigorous dance training to get the position, or what goes into a day?
We do have to audition for the position, so we have like yearly auditions, also sometimes bi-yearly, depending on the demand. So I auditioned for it, and then we do have yearly training that we have to go to just to practice our Fosse poses, kind of keep us all like on the same base level. I wasn't dance trained, I'm physical theater trained, so it was a whole new experience for me. I was like, whoa, this is different. I learned that it's not really dancing, it's more like moving from Fosse pose to Fosse pose.
Sure.
Because obviously we're out here for up to 10 hours a day, so we can't really be like living our true Broadway life. And then yeah, we're out here in Times Square, it's our office. We're here for 10 hours a day, and we just meet tons of people, various kinds of people, and give them discounts for the show, or we hit up TKTS and promote the TKTS discount.
When people are walking by, what does an average interaction look like? You know, do you get ignored most of the time? Is it mostly endearing?
I will say I have become very close with rejection because yeah, a lot of people don't take my flyers, but a lot of people are enchanted. They're like, oh, that's cute. And the people who do take my flyers are usually very excited about Chicago, especially right now, like with Jinx Monsoon being in it. Like everyone's like, oh, I gotta see Jinx, I gotta know. So it's a variety of types, but usually very positive.
Now I know that you are a performer outside of theater. What is being right here in Times Square do to help you, inspire you to, you know, get back into theater or go to those auditions the next day? What does this do for you in your Broadway life?
It's really easy when you're in New York to kind of just like have the day-to-day grind. And so when you're here, you kind of realize through other people's eyes the magic of Times Square, the magic of Broadway, the magic of New York. And so it kind of just is that little fuel, that little inspiration to be like, yeah, I am very blessed to be here. I'm very lucky, and I should be grabbing everything, every opportunity I can. And also just being around theater is just phenomenal. Like I'll see Broadway actors walking to their show, and I'm like, I would one day love to do that.
So what are your Broadway dreams?
Broadway, I would love to be in an original Broadway like play, original cast. I think that plays, especially on Broadway, kind of get overlooked by musicals. And I think that they sometimes have some of the most intense stories. Where I would like to be is something that is going to make someone sit with a problem and like look at the world through different eyes.
That's going to do it for us. Until next time, I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is The Broadway Show.